analysis indicates that the map room is on 5 floors. Let's keep going inside.
Hi folks, Max here, and on this episode of Great Levels in Gaming, we're taking a look at Halo Combat Evolved, the first in the series developed by Bungie and released for the launch of the original Xbox in the fall of 2001, then on PC in 2003, remastered on Xbox 360 by 343 Studios in 2011, and soon to be released in the Master Chief Collection on Xbox One this fall. The subject of this episode is the Silent Cartographer, which is the 4th level of the game and tasks you with finding the map of the ancient ring world for which the game is named. Before we get started, you'll notice that the whole recording is split-screen co-op, so I want to thank my good friend Lee for helping me get the footage. It's my favorite way to play this game, and plus, you know, we got to play some Halo. I really like the opening of this level for how well it portrays the newfound confidence that the human side has at the start of the Silent Cartographer. The first 2 levels are consumed with reacting to the Covenant after they attack the Pillar of Autumn above the Halo, and even the third, in which you attack the Covenant ship Truth and Reconciliation, seems to me to be an attack more out of desperation than anything else. The confidence that the humans gain from the intel they get after rescuing Captain Keyes from the Covenant in the previous level is communicated to you in a couple of clever ways. First, the opening of the level uses one of the most powerful and iconic pieces from Halo's soundtrack, which is repeated again at the end of the level after you've found the Cartographer and located Halo's control center. In both of these situations, the positive tone of the piece underscores the confidence that comes from a recent success. Second, the action in the level's first moments is a reference to the Normandy landings on D-Day, June 6, 1944, which is deeply ingrained in American culture and remembered for the decisive victory that it was. Much as D-Day was a major turning point in World War II, this level represents a pivotal moment in the fight between the humans and the Covenant in this game. Since Bungie was making a game for the debut console by Microsoft, both American companies, they could be reasonably certain that this reference would be understood by their primary audience, and it again reinforces the confidence that the human side feels in this level. As much as I love how effectively the level's introduction gets you pumped up for the rest of it, my favorite thing about the Silent Cartographer is how well its structure aligns with its primary objective. At the start of the level, it's explained that Captain Keyes overheard that the Covenant believe that the map room is located somewhere under the island, but you don't know where, so your goal is to find it and use it to locate Halo's control center. Therefore, it makes perfect sense in the context of the story that this level is one of the most non-linear in the entire Halo series. Since it's made clear that the island is unfamiliar territory, the game gives you almost no clear indication of where you need to go over the course of the entire level. This is one of the trickiest things that a developer can do when building a level, because it runs the risk of the player getting lost and frustrated by having trouble figuring out where they need to go next. But I wouldn't be talking about this level right now if Bungie had made that mistake, now would I? After you push up the beach and the Pelican, callsign Foehammer, drops off the first Warthog, you aren't given any concrete indication of where you need to go, which makes sense in context since the opposite would completely contradict the level's mission to find the Cartographer. This would seem counterintuitive to steady game flow, but in order to avoid making you wander aimlessly, the Silent Cartographer is carefully constructed to lead you down a particular path the first time you play it without directly telling you to do so. Having fought through the beach, you now have a Warthog that's the focus of the only waypoint that I could find across at least 5 different playthroughs of the level while putting this video together. Note the direction in which the Warthog was facing, with its nose pointing in the same direction as you and the Marines were going as you moved up the beach. Because the beach behind you is essentially already explored territory, you're primed to keep moving in the same direction to cover more of the island, and the Warthog's starting orientation reinforces that idea. It may seem insignificant, but the game uses this kind of subtle signposting to nudge you in the way that it wants you to go, at least the first time you play it. In fact, its apparent insignificance is a good thing since it gives you an idea of where you need to go without hitting you over the head with it. The game seems to want you to reach the main facility before hunting down the security controls because it results in a more intricate series of objectives, but if you happen to reverse this order, you actually get a different set of lines, so the level still proceeds smoothly. Admittedly, the island itself is fairly small, so even if you do get turned around, you're never far from an objective, which helps to prevent any chance of aimless wandering. Now, do you remember what I mentioned before about the Covenant having a better idea of the island structure than you do? Well, that informs you from the start that if you want to find the cartographer, you need to follow the Covenant. As you make your way around the beach, you'll run into a couple of enemy patrols before eventually encountering a greater enemy presence at the first structure you see, which Cortana quickly deduces probably contains the cartographer. This ensures that the action won't slow down while you search the island, and that you have a breadcrumb trail to follow so you won't get lost. You know, if the breadcrumbs shot bolts of plasma and explosive crystal needles at you. This repeats every time you need to get around the beach that rings the island. When you're leaving after getting locked out from the cartographer, the first group of jackals you see is to the left as you leave, which guides you along the shortest path to your next objective where you find a linear path into the security center. Once you're finished there, you've pretty much seen the entirety of the island's surface, and once you've scavenged your supplies from the downed pelican, either path is a short drive to a familiar area. This careful construction is noticeable in the indoor areas as well, but to a nearly opposite effect. While the outdoor environments are intentionally designed to be straightforward and easy to navigate, the island's interior is much more maze-like. On one hand, Cortana tells you to head to the bottom of the facility, locked and unlocked doors are lit red and green respectively, and you can still rely on the level's alien breadcrumbs, so you're given plenty of signs to know which way to go. At the same time, though, the structure is full of twists and dead ends, so it's likely that you'll get lost a couple of times, especially on your first playthrough. And while this might seem like a risky choice, it's actually beneficial to the level in a couple of ways. First, it hammers home the point that this is an alien structure. Up until this point in the game, you haven't gotten to spend much time inside Forerunner structures, only briefly going underground in the second level. Being unfamiliar with their architecture, it makes sense that it would be so foreign that it's confusing, especially when you take into account the level's central goal to finding the Ringworld's map. It makes sense that navigating the facility to find the cartographer would be confusing since you know so little about the world's layout. The facility's design also has a noticeable impact on the escape after you reach the cartographer. You're at the bottom of the structure knowing that Covenant reinforcements are inbound, and the level's opening theme begins to play again, echoing the confidence you're instilled with at the start and encouraging you to power through the enemy as you get out. While the music drives you forward, every dead end serves to remind you that the enemies aren't getting any further away, and this ratchets up the tension for the final moments of the level, reaching a climax as you fight your way out against a group of cloaked elites. It's a clever way to increase the tension in the scene in a way that doesn't feel artificial or forced. The level's goal and structure also allow Bungie to emphasize some of the combat's strongest elements. Each weapon and enemy type has its own unique strengths and weaknesses, so the variety of indoor and outdoor environments lets the game throw every type of Covenant infantry in the game at you in a variety of locations. This forces you to think about how best to approach each encounter, taking into account what weapons you have, what enemies you're facing, and what kind of an area you're fighting them in. Those factors are especially meaningful since you can only hold 2 weapons at a time, a feature that was fairly uncommon before Halo made it as popular as it is today. This limitation serves to enhance cooperative play as well, since in addition to the new flanking options that open up with another player, you now have access to double the available weapon slots at any given time. Add to this the fact that the level's only vehicle is the Warthog, which is practically made for co-op with its mounted chain gun, and an already great level is made even better when played with a friend. The variety of tactical options available to 1 or 2 players in this level ensures that it's always engaging, especially on Halo's higher difficulties, which are notoriously hard. You might even say they're legendary. The Silent Cartographer leverages a cinematic opening to set the stage for a level that is, by design, different from almost every other level in the Halo series and how it unfolds. Its use of non-linear environmental design reinforces the story in which it's set and does so without hurting the gameplay. In fact, the non-linear approach to this level's construction allows Bungie to keep the gameplay varied and engaging throughout. For everything it does so well, I'd say that the Silent Cartographer is worth making a bit of noise about. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and that you'll share your opinions in the comments below. And be sure to join me again next time to take a look at another great level in gaming.